I'm Courtney. We're a family of 5 trying to grow as much of our own food as we can, and we raise chickens. Our kids wanted to name our little backyard farm, so we did. It's called Heart Pine Farms. With a simple hinged hoop house over a raised bed, you could extend your fall growing season, start your spring growing season earlier, harden off summer seedlings, or even grow cool season crops through the winter depending on your growing zone. We'll show you how we made this portable hinged hoop house in our Zone 7B garden, and also some details about growing lettuce under this hoop house this fall and winter. Temperatures bottomed out at 3 degrees and our lettuce survived. It's November 16th and we're out here getting ready to build a hoop house for our lettuce bed. Temps are supposed to be in the 20s tonight, and we've had a little bit of that already. We've covered the lettuce beds with our frost blanket and it did fine, but I would like to grow lettuce throughout the whole entire winter. So our plan is to build a hoop house on top of this 4x8 raised bed so that we can do that. In the past, we've made really simple row covers out of PVC pipes that we just stuck into the ground, and then we put greenhouse plastic on top, and they did okay, but they just didn't really last through the weather. We still do get pretty heavy snow here every once in a while and high winds, and they just ended up getting destroyed. One thing I really wanted to do with this hoop house is make it really easy to open and close. The row covers that we did previously were not so easy to open and close, and obviously you kind of need full access to your whole entire lettuce bed when it's covered with a hoop house, and that has to happen quite often with the way that lettuce is harvested. So I'm not very experienced with building and designing. Please forgive me, I'm kind of slow. I am not a pro at this whatsoever. Let's start out nice and slow. So I did lots of research and I came across James Prigioni's YouTube video on how to make the perfect hoop house for a raised bed. And his instructions are so detailed, so I put the link in the description of this video so that you can follow those. I'm just gonna show you how easy it is to follow those instructions and make that hoop house. And trust me, if I can do it, you can do it. Here are the tools and supplies that we're getting started with. So here we have a square. We have some PVC cutters. Of course, we have a pencil and a tape measure, a utility knife, a permanent marker, some electrical tape. Here we have 3.5-inch decking screws, 1.25-inch decking screws, some other random screws right here. We have some PVC fasteners. Now this right here is a latch because we're gonna actually latch our hoop house down so that it doesn't blow all over the place in the wind. Here are the hinges. Of course, you need a drill and some drill bits, and then here's a saw. So I will get into this later, but this is a temperature sensor. I'm going to put a temperature sensor inside this hoop house because I'd like to monitor the temperature. We have an ambient weather station and we keep track of everything very closely. The temperature in here will be important because I'd like to know, how high the temperature gets, how low the temperature gets, and our particular weather station will show graphs in an app. Okay, so here's our wood. We have some 2x4s. We have the PVC pipes. These are other strips that we're going to use as the base of the hoop house. And then this is our 6mm plastic right here. So this isn't specifically greenhouse plastic, but if you're purchasing plastic for this project, you can look for the 6mm greenhouse plastic. This is just some plastic that we had left over from a home improvement project. If you're an amateur like me, the steps of building this hoop house can easily be done. That includes just measuring, drilling holes, inserting screws, and making simple cuts with a saw. One thing I would recommend practicing before you build this hoop house is countersinking screws at an angle like this. I practiced with old boards before I worked on the actual project. I'll quickly show you a close-up of this here. So we're going to countersink, and that means you take your drill bit and you put it at an angle like this because you want to have a pocket for your screw head to go in, and you want your screw to go through without splitting the wood. So you come through, you kind of eyeball it like this, and you come down here and you come through at an angle. place our temperature sensor in here. After the first 24 hours and keeping an eye on my temperature graphs, I can have an idea of how hot it's going to get inside this hoop house during a fully sunny day and how warm it's going to stay at night. Last night there was a low temperature of 25 degrees outside. Inside the hoop house it hit 28 for a low. Then today it was completely sunny all day long, and inside the hoop house it reached a whopping 95 degrees while outside the high was 48. When the temperatures are in the 40s and 50s, obviously it's going to be probably in the 90s in here. So warm days like this throughout the winter, we will probably have this propped open most of the time. Check the temperature of the soil here just because I'm curious to see how warm it is. It's about 66 degrees an inch down. So I'm gonna check this bed that hasn't been covered. We're growing carrots in this bed right here. It's 55 degrees, so that is at least 10 degree difference. Now you can keep an eye on the temperatures inside your hoop house and manage it so that the temperatures stay around the optimal temperature, growing temperature for your crop. Lettuce will do well anywhere between 45 all the way up to 75 degrees. 65 would be a nice average temperature to keep in here during the day. So on the days that the temperatures are 45 degrees or above, and especially if it's sunny, we're just going to leave this hoop house open because it's really good for the plants to have direct sunlight and ventilation. And if there's rain in the forecast and it's warm enough, we're going to prop this open because a good drenching rain is really good to wash out any impurities like salts or even nitrates that can build up in the soil. We're out here at about 5 p.m. The sun has set and we're gonna close up the hoop house. It's 43 degrees right now. Last night the temp got down to 22 and the coldest temp that we recorded in here was 25. So if the temps do go below that, I will probably use a frost blanket just to give some extra protection, because I know if the temps are below 25 for more than 3 or 4 hours, this lettuce probably won't make it. So this is a good nighttime protection for us. In our growing zone, it doesn't get below that, especially during the day for a long stretch of time. It's kind of unusual. The temps in the 20s actually usually don't even happen until January or February. So this is really kind of early and unusual for us. But if you live in a colder area, what you could try is extra protection from frost blanket and see how long you can extend your growing season with that. Okay, so here we go, all covered up. We're just gonna button it up for the night and hope for the best, but I really do think that this is gonna be okay here. We had a low temperature of 3 degrees this morning at 5:30, and the low inside this hoop house was 27. So with dual protection in there, with the frost blanket and the hoop house on top, I think the lettuce is going to survive. Our lettuce survived single-digit temperatures in South Carolina, down to 3 degrees. You can make modifications to this hoop house, like attaching bungee cords to the lid while it's propped open in windy conditions to prevent it from blowing backwards. Ours has been through wind gusts to 30 miles per hour so far. It's also important to note that it's good to lift the hoop house to allow for ventilation whenever it's possible, to allow for air circulation, even if it's just for a few minutes on a sunny day while it's cold. I hope you'll feel confident growing in your own raised bed hoop house after watching our video and enjoy extending your growing season.